Yo, what's going on, everybody? So basically what I want to talk about is the reason for my channel, the reason for me creating this space is for me, for one, to tell my life story, you know, and to also let it be known the corruption in the Department of Corrections where I worked at. You know, I can't speak on other states, but I know about the state I worked in, which was the state of Georgia, right? So as far as corruption, when I worked there, you know, we did a lot of shit we wasn't supposed to do. You know, we did a lot of hands-on, you know, it was like, you know, how I was, the corrupt officer that I was, it was more like hands-on people. You know, I never brought nobody in nothing. I never gave nobody nothing. It was just me, you know, using force on people, you know, and then reporting it like it was them falling down, or, you know what I'm saying, or them being resistant when they weren't resistant, or them trying to like fight back when they weren't trying to fight back. So that was my corrupt way. But I do know other people in there was like bringing stuff in. You know, there was this one female who got caught when I was working there, who was bringing stuff to the dudes. You know, that's corrupt, obviously. It was instances where like dudes would beat on inmates in handcuffs. The warden knew about it, lieutenants knew about it, sergeants knew about it. Nobody would say nothing. I wasn't no better than them, because in my situation I didn't say nothing either. I just, you know, looked at it and kept it moving. You know what I'm saying? Because me personally, I treated it like it was like my crew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I come from the street. That's what I try to get people to understand. As hard as it is to understand, some people might get it, some people don't. But I come from the street. Like, I come from the hood. You know what I'm saying? And I was always about my people. Like, if I'm with you, I'm riding with you to whatever. We going wherever we gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Something happens to you, I'm popping. We ones are the guns. That's what I always stood on. You know, growing up was, you know, we could do the ones of the guns. It's on you, however you want to do it. So when I became even like, for instance, when I joined the military, I was the same way in the military. You know what I'm saying? With my platoon, with my squad, the dudes that I was with on the regular, if we got into something, we got into it together. You know what I'm saying? Where I come from, I'm gonna be honest, I say ones of the guns, but there's majority of the time ain't nobody shooting no fair one no more. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody gonna fight head up. That just don't happen. It's rare. I'll say that. It's rare. Cause you know, you got some people that will do that. But it's rare. You know what I mean? So with that being said, when I was in the military, I was the same way. You know, with my platoon, with the guys that I hung with all the time, if we got into something, we got into it together. When I became a correctional officer, I wasn't looking at it like other correctional officers. I didn't look at it like, this is my chance to beat on people. This is my chance to get at people, because I couldn't when I was a kid, or I was bullied when I was a kid. That was not the case with me. Never was I ever bullied in my life. I used to beat up the bullies. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't because of that. It wasn't because of me, you know, being scared, or now I got a chance to take advantage of somebody in a fucked up situation. That wasn't it. It was just, I looked at it like it was the streets. If you disrespect me, then I'm coming at you however you want to do it. If you disrespect one of the people that I was kicking it with, hanging with, you know, then I'm going to come at you like it is what it is. Like, that's what we going to do. You know, me personally, I used to look at it like, you bring your crew, I bring my crew, and we just do what we do. We bang it out. That's why anytime I put hands on somebody, I always gave them the opportunity to fight back. I took the handcuffs off. I let them try to fight me. You know what I'm saying? Or I pulled up on them and was like, let's, you know, what do you want to do? Let's shoot the fair and whatever. It didn't matter to me. I always took my badge off and threw it. I always took my shirt off and threw it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was who I was. And anybody who knows me while I was a correctional officer knows that. You know what I'm saying? They know when I put them gloves on and I'm pulling up, it's a problem. We're going to fight. So that was my corruption. You know what I'm saying? But I do know officers that would jumping on dudes in handcuffs, 4 or 5, jumping on one guy. I never participated in that. I was never there to, once it started popping off like that, I'm out of there. I'm going, you know what I'm saying? Because that, to me, that wasn't fair. If you got 5 guys on one dude and y'all don't beat him without hand, if y'all can't beat that man, then you shouldn't be trying to do that. So my corruption was that. But do I know corrupt officers who be on that? Yeah, hell yeah. Handcuff you, beat the shit out you, throw you in the cell, definitely. No officers that guys complaining about, you know, having suicidal thoughts or whatever, they laugh at them, slide them a razor, tell them go ahead, cut yourself, make sure you cut in the right places. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Me, I would just, I tried to talk to people who I felt had a mental issue. You know what I'm saying? Try to get them to think different ways. Or, you know, try to get them the help that I could get them. Once it gets out of my hands, there was nothing I could do. But the corruption was there, definitely. From the wardens all the way down. You know what I'm saying? In the lawsuit that I caught when I was at Roger State Prison, the warden was on that lawsuit. Lieutenants was on that lawsuit. Sergeants was on that lawsuit. Like, it was a big lawsuit against the prison. I just happened to get involved because I put hands on inmates too. So that's how that went. Now, fast forward, like I said, I'm gonna give my story. The corruption that was in there was the same shit, handcuffing inmates, beating the shit out of them. You know, that was definitely happening in every prison in the state of Georgia. It probably still happening to this day, but from what I see on social media, them inmates got them places on smash now. Which this is why I say I was on both sides of the fence. And as an inmate, I had officers bringing me cigarettes, I had officers bringing me weed, I had officers bringing me liquor, I had officers bringing me clothes, slippers, sneakers, phones. I had officers bringing me phones. I had nurses bringing me phones. I had nurses bringing me cigarettes, like shit you're not supposed to have. I had them bringing it in by the bundles. You know what I'm saying? I was selling phones, I was selling cigarettes. Shit got to the point I had them bringing in ice, which is meth. I had them bringing that in because white guys in Georgia, now it's like, oh, everybody do it. But when I first started moving it in prison, it was mainly the white people, the white boys in there who was doing it, who was on the ice and shit. So I had that type of corruption with the officers. You know what I'm saying? My thing was, I had came across a dude when I was at a level 5. Mind you, I did 12 years straight in prison. 12 straight. This is after me being a correctional officer. I was a correctional officer from 2003 till 2006. I caught my case in 2006. I was actually set up by another correctional officer in my case, and that's what made me get convicted, because him and his friends were going to testify against me, but I wasn't the one who actually did the incident. One of his friends were. But because I was there with them, and I was probably it's funny to say this, but I was probably the darkest person in that group with all these white guys. You know, I was on the tactical squad, I was a sergeant, went to party at somebody's house, ended up going to a bar, a situation happened. I don't speak too much on it, but I was convicted. I got 15 years, served 14, okay? I was a correctional officer at the time, but that's what the judge gave me. The judge gave me 15 years, served 14. It's funny because while I'm in court, right? Now, mind you, it took them 3 years to give me that conviction because they really didn't have nothing. But the guys that were going to testify against me, that's what they had. So one time I go to court, right? Now, mind you, I moved back to New York. I'm back and forth, flying back and forth. Every court date, I'm flying back to Georgia, going to court, flying back to New York, blah, blah, blah. I'm doing all of this on my own dime. So anyways, I get to the courtroom, right? Funny thing, this is how you know racism is very, very thick in Georgia, man. Very thick. And I'm probably not too heavy in the major cities in Georgia, but them outside cities and country ass towns, that shit is very thick. So boom, I'm in Jessup, Georgia, Wayne County. That's the county. That's the place I was convicted at, right? So I'm in the courtroom. They don't even know who I am. Like, you know, you sit in the back in the benches, and they call your name, and you go up. So they don't even know who I am. I'm sitting there, and they're doing, you know, case after case. We take a little lunch break, so I didn't have nowhere to go, so I just went out to the hallway and was standing around. And as I'm standing there, I hear one of the news reporters. You know, news reporters are amazing. They be getting the information quick. So she looks at another person, they're talking, and she's like, man, I feel sorry for the guy who's next, the next guy they call. And I'm just standing there listening, you know, and the other lady's like, why, what's going on? And she was like, man, he's not even from down here. He's from New York somewhere, and they're going to try to hang his ass. So when I heard that, I looked around, I'm like, damn, is it me? Like, I know I'm from New York, but is there another person here? Because what the fuck? Not looking for any type of help from them because I was a correctional officer or because I was in the military. I wasn't looking for no kind of, oh, let's have sympathy on them. I didn't do it. So, but I wouldn't tell on nobody. That was my problem. I didn't tell on nobody. I just lived by a different code. And these same people that I didn't tell on was willing to testify against me. So when it came down to it, I just took a plea. I copped out because they were talking about giving me 38 years straight. So instead of taking it to trial, I was like, you know what? I did it. I copped out, but I copped out under the Alfred versus South Carolina plea, which is basically saying I'm guilty, but I don't remember the situation. I think that's what it means. Like, I don't remember what happened that night, but I'm gonna say that I'm guilty because of the evidence that's against me. And like I said, the only evidence that was against me was these two dudes was willing to testify, saying that I was the one who did it and not him, not one of the guys. So that's what made me say, you know what, I'm gonna lose, because no matter what I say, I got two people who was there that night who's willing to say, yes, it was him. So come on, man, that you don't even need that in Georgia. You could just have somebody say, I heard he did it, and they'll convict you in Georgia. That whole system in that fucking state sucks. It's all corrupt. So, okay, I was like, you know what? I took the plea. I didn't flip it, try to tell on them. I don't tell on nobody anyway. That's not my style. That's why when I became a correctional officer and the stuff I was doing, I'm not telling on nobody. What they do is on them. It's whoever's the officers or internal affairs or whatever. It's your job to find out what's going on and arrest people. It's not my job to help you. I don't get paid to do your job, so I never done your job. Period. That's just how I feel. I'm not gonna tell on nobody. It's not my business. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I'm doing. If you catch me, you just caught me. What I look like telling on somebody else. So that's the biggest issue that I had growing up, is I'm not telling. Even to this day, I mind my business. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't be in situations, I try not to put myself in situations where I have to witness anything. You know what I'm saying? I get out of places fast. I barely go anywhere. But anyways, so with that, the corruption comes in when I go to prison. After like I said, the beatings and the handcuffs on, people beating on inmates with handcuffs and, you know, stuff like that. People abusing their authority on inmates. That's happening probably all over the country, all over the world. But Georgia's bad on that. So then, you know, fast forward to when I go to prison. Like I said, I had became a real heavy hitter inside prison. You know what I'm saying? Like when I got there, you know, I didn't know nobody. I'm not from Georgia. The guys that recognized me, they didn't recognize me as being a correctional officer. They would be like, yo, we was locked up somewhere before, weren't we? So me, naturally, I'm gonna use that shit to my advantage. I was like, hell yeah. Da 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 da. Mind you, I'm one person. I have no people down here in Georgia. I have no friends. I have no family down there. I have nobody in prison that I could click with so I could have some type of backup. It was just me, dolo, by myself, stepping on the yard, stepping in population. I didn't get PC. I didn't go to PC. I didn't do none of that. I got pictures. I can show you proof that I'm out. I was out there. I was in the dorms. I was in population. You know what I'm saying? But I had became a heavy hitter in prison because I had met somebody. You know, he liked my style. I was from New York, so that even made him, you know, he was from New York too. He was from the Bronx. I lived in the Bronx for a while too, so it was like, we clicked real tight. He was a Latin king. So I'm like, you know, me, I never really joined no gangs. It was never my thing. Like, the dudes I hung out with and grew up with, that was like my squad. It was no gang. Like, you didn't beat each other up to get into nothing. We didn't have like rules and regulations on how we supposed to conduct ourselves. We just was us. We was just street kids, grew up in the street, grew up in the hood, and we lived how we lived. You know what I'm saying? But we lived in a certain block, like you would call it, now that I'm older and I know about gangs. If it was considered a gang, which it wasn't, like the dudes I grew up with was my family. But if it was considered a gang, because we were doing illegal shit, you know, we was selling dope, and we was, you know, gunplay and all that shit. So, you know, they considered us a gang, but it wasn't. It was just family. But if it was considered a gang, it was what they call now a neighborhood set. You know what I'm saying? We never claimed a name. We never, when I was around, when I was growing up with them, we never claimed a name. We never created a name for ourselves. We were just like, yo, we from this neighborhood. We from this street. That's it. We protect our neighborhood. We protect where we stand. That was it. So I was never really into gangs because I was always a leader and I never wanted to follow nobody. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to be up under somebody and none of that. So anyways, I get with him. Now I'm thinking strategically, like, okay, I'm in here. I don't know nobody. I don't got nobody. I used to be a correctional officer. If that shit get out, I know the beef is coming. So now in my head, I'm like, I got 13 years, well, I have 14 years to serve. So I'm like, you know what? I honestly thought in my head, I was like, I'm gonna die in here. Because somebody's gonna find out. Somebody's gonna recognize me and it's gonna be beef. And I'm not going to no PC. That's not my style. So we're gonna knife it out. So with him, I was at a prison called Hayes State Prison. It was a level 5 security prison, maximum, you know, high max shit. Had what in Georgia they don't call it the SHU, they call it SMU, which is Special Management Unit. You know, I know in other states they call it the SHU, Special Housing Unit. In Georgia they call it SMU, which is Special Management Unit. I don't know why, but it had SMU in there. When I first got there, the warden that was there knew me, so he put me in the hole. I didn't ask for it. He put me in the hole. He comes in there. He's like, yo, what the fuck? What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. You're not supposed to be here. Mind you, this is the second prison I've been to where both wardens told me the same shit. You're not supposed to be here. They shouldn't have sent you here. Because, you know, when I was a correctional officer, I did my job. Set aside from the me fighting and shit, I did my job. Any job that I ever had in my life, I done my job. But I just, you know, like I said, if I'm with you, I didn't treat it like a job. I treated it like a street hood, like this is what we doing. You know what I'm saying? But I did do my job. So I was well respected. That I can say in anything I did. Any job I did when I was in the military, I was well respected. When I was I did my military, I did my shit in the military, did my job, you know what I'm saying? Got awards some people never had in the military. I got that for stuff that I've done in the military. Then when I became a correctional officer, I got letters of recommendations. I got awards for stuff I did in corrections. I got certificates for things, courses I completed, stuff like that. Then when I went to prison, I applied the same thing, but now I'm applying it back to the street because now I'm in an environment where that's what it is. It's not. Prison, inside prison is so different. It's like its own world, you know what I'm saying? And I had to, obviously how it works, one thing I can say, not all the time, but I can say this. In Georgia, race hangs with race, sometimes. Because I'll say this, in Georgia, they take that street gang shit and they bring it into the prisons. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the blacks don't click up in Georgia. Majority of the Spanish dudes, the Latin people, they do click up. But they still have their separations too. Like, you got, if you was in a gang, you was Latin and in a gang. This is only in Georgia. If you was Latin and in a gang, like a street gang, then all those street gangs come together in prison. If you was a Spanish dude, like if you was a Mexican from Mexico or one of them countries from over there, like you were from Mexico, Guatemala or whatever, they would call them paisas. And they had a crew of paisas, like dudes who were from their country who are here. They had that crew, then they would all come together if it really came down to it, but they separated like that. You know, you had your American Latin gang members all grouped up. You had your paisas, which was all Spanish dudes from them countries, from Mexico and all that. They grouped up. If something popped off, then naturally they would all get together against anybody. But they still had their little separation, you know. Then you had the black gangs, you had the Bloods, you had the Crips, you had the GDs. You had very few vice lords in Georgia. And I don't think, and then you got the Muslims. Now Muslims, you know, you got a few white guys, but predominantly black dudes, but they ran that shit like a gang too. That shit was nothing like no motherfucking religious group trying to be all about their religion. No, that shit was ran just like a gang, because they did everything we did. They stabbed motherfuckers, they ran dope in that bitch, they ran phones in that motherfucker, they did all the illegal shit we was doing. So, and that's cool. That's cool. I'm not knocking them for that. But I'm just explaining how it was in the state of Georgia. I don't know how it is in any other state. I didn't do time in any other state. I did my time in Georgia. And you could, like me, I'm Latin, but you know, I became a king. I became a high-ranking gang member, a high-ranking king. I basically became the top king in Georgia, in any prison I stepped onto. Everybody came to me. You know what I'm saying? I got clicked up real tough with the East Coast Bloods, because, you know, I represented the 5 of the Crown. They represented the 5-star. So I got real close with a bunch of the top dudes of the East Coast Bloods, particularly the Sex Money Murder dudes. Those was my right hands. Them SMM boys, those was my right hands. Like, in Georgia, you know what I'm saying? One of the top dudes who ran Sex Money Murder in Georgia was my right hand man. Like, we was tight, we was close. Like, I hung with him so much, everybody thought I was a Blood, but I wasn't. But I became a real, you know, heavy hitter in prison. You know what I'm saying? I was a shot caller, and anytime my man, who was over the Bloods at the prison I was at, one of the prisons I was at, my dude that was over the Bloods, how it worked in prison is your rank, when it came to the Bloods, your rank in those sets determined who was the top dog at that compound. You feel me? Like, if you was I forgot how they do their ranking, but like a 00, 000, They got a different kind of ranking system. But I know you got like your YNs, your 00, your 000. You know, you got your GF, which is the Godfather. You got your it's crazy. It's crazy. I can't really remember how they do their whole little system, how they do their whole ranking structure completely. Like, you know, with the Kings is 5 crowns. You know, your first, second, third, fourth, fifth crown. The first obviously is the Inca. All the other sets, no matter you was East or West Coast, if you didn't outrank him, then you fell up under him, under the highest ranking Blood. He was SMM. They had SMM there. They had damn Bounty Hunter Bloods there. They had G-Shine Bloods there. Brims. They had 183rd for a while. A situation happened with the 183rd in Georgia. Like, the New York, I don't know nothing about it, so I can't speak on it. But in Georgia, they had the 183rd dudes there. Some of them So yeah, they had a mixture of East Coast sets, and then they had a mixture of West Coast sets, which the Pyrus, they had the Ma Pyrus and some other Pyru sets, neighborhood sets from all over the West Coast was there. But they all fell up under him because he was the highest ranking dude, and he was my right hand. And I was, you know, the highest ranking king at that time. Like, you know, anytime I ran into somebody, they just knew what it was. So me and him became real tight. And we was making money. Some ways we was getting money was we was having like inmates who went outside details, because we couldn't go outside details. So if you went outside detail, we had them shoving packs of cigarettes up their ass to bring it in so we could make money like that. We had I used to catch the officers, like, you know, you get the officers my age or younger at the time. You know, I was in my 20s, my 30s. I spent my last of my 20s, all of my 30s, and I came home when I was 40. Yeah, I came home when I was 40 years old. So I spent 12 years in prison total, straight. From 09 to 2020, I was in prison. October 09 to December 2020. That's when I came home. But yeah, you know, I was smooth with it. Like, I'm not from Georgia, so the way I talk is different. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them expect the Latin dudes, when they see us, they be like, oh, these dudes, you know, they don't know English. They kind of speak, you know, they stick to the Spanish. You got some that do, though. You got some that speak like I do, or you know, they got the hood dudes in Georgia and Atlanta who talk like that. But like, mind you, I was 278, solid. I'm hit up all over, tattoos everywhere. You know, I don't come out the dorm often. But anytime I moved, I had no less than like 10 or 15 dudes with me. Anytime I went anywhere. Went to Chow, I had a whole squad of dudes with me. So, you know, the officers recognize that. They see that, and then they start pulling up. Like, yo, who are you? What you do? Like, then I get to talking, they're like, oh shit, where you from? And it was just easy. It was like the street. Like, I'm talking to the female officers like I'm on the street, and they eating it up. You know, and I was making money already. You know, I always started by having dudes from outside details bring my shit in, like bring my cigarettes in their ass. I'll pay them and then start hustling and selling my cigarettes. And because cigarettes, you can't have them in Georgia no more. So I'm making money like that. So me, you know, I'll just pull up on females talking about, yo, you know, let me send you some money. You know what I'm saying? Bring me a sandwich. Bring me a burger from Burger King, or bring me some Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. That's how it started. Once you bring me that, and you know, now I'm like, yo, here, take my number down. You know, give me a call, blah, blah, blah. Or text me, you know. Get on the WhatsApp, text me, get on the motherfucking, download one of them text now numbers or whatever. But anyways, that's how I would catch them. That was the corruption on that side, because I would catch the females, the crazy. Even some of the dudes. I didn't care. I didn't care if you was a dude if you was gay and you like dudes, I'm on you. What's up? What you gonna do? What you gonna do for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, we get some money together. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter to me. As long as we making money, as long as I'm making money, I didn't care. So I pulled up on anybody. But corruption, it was crazy. I used to have officers set dudes up. I used to fucking come into a lockdown unit. I'm not even in lockdown. I come into a lockdown unit, be like, yo, I gotta talk to this dude, man. Let me in his cell. Go up in there, put the beats on some dude, come out, boom, close the cell, walk out. Inmate. I'm an inmate now. That's the thing I had officers doing for me. My mans was in the lockdown. I come down there with a sack of food. Yo, let me give this to him. Go open it. Come on, take me up there, open the cell. Let me put this in the cell. Stuff like that. That's how corrupt they were. I would have officers set up inmates. We go to the yard or something, like every time. They would lock me down a lot because, you know, I was one of the heads. So anytime something popped off, I would get locked down. They would come and get me. Georgia's not like no other state though. Like, they would lock me down for months at a time. Like 3 months here, 6 months here, 9 months here. You know what I'm saying? It was never like, oh, you the head dude, so we're gonna put you in a shoe or not. Which when Georgia's called SMU, they didn't do none of that. It was just like, okay, lock them down till shit settles down and then let them back out. You know what I'm saying? But the corruption, they would let me do whatever I want. If I wanted you moved, I'm like, yo, he can't be here. He got to go. Move him over there. If I wanted one of my mans moved into my cell, my dorm, yo, move him in here with me. Move him over here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm an inmate making these calls. The officers, the warden, lieutenants, captains, sergeants, all of them call me Almighty. None of them call me inmate. None of them call me Rodriguez. They all show me the utmost respect. You know what I'm saying? Because they know I could get anybody touched. Even the officers. They weren't safe. You know what I'm saying? So it was just mad corruption. Mad corruption. I used to have dudes set up by the officers. Yo, put in lockdown units. When they had me in lockdown units and I want to get at somebody, yo, put me in his cell while he's in the shower. Don't tell him I'm in there. Just put me in there. And, you know, I ain't going to kill him. I'm not going to stab him. But I'm going to beat the shit out of him. So put me in his room. They'll pull me out my cell, put me in another dude's cell, and then pull him out and bring him in there. He don't know what the hell going on. I be in the back of the cell waiting. As soon as they take the handcuffs, I'm putting the beats on you. You know what I'm saying? That was the type of shit that they would do. That's how corrupt they were. They let me do whatever I wanted. Even when they would lock me down, I'd be in a lockdown unit, 23-1. They'll come to me and be like, yo, what you want to do? You want to go to the yard and then take your shower? They don't let nobody do that. It's either yard or shower. Which one? You got to choose. With me, yo, Rob, go to the yard. They leave me on the yard all day. Oh, I'm talking about I'll be on the yard for 8-9 hours. You know, the little dog cages. Sitting out there for 8-9 hours just to get out my cell. Come back in, boom. All right, let me get my shit, take me to the shower. They'll take me to the shower. If I wanted somebody, I go to the yard, yo, go get my man, put him right next to me because I don't want nobody else next to me. They'll go get one of mine and put him next to me. That's how corrupt that shit was. Bringing me food all day long. It got to a point I didn't even have to pay for it. Yo, bring me some Chinese. Yo, bring me this, bring me that. All right, I got you, mighty, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Making money with them, phones coming in by from them. They strapping the phone. I had one chick bringing me phones in McDonald's cups. Because at one point, they didn't have to put their drinks through the machine. They just set their drinks to the side, walk through. So I would tell her, put 3-4 phones in the McDonald's cup, put the ice in it. You know, you wrap the phones, put the ice in it. So when you walk in, boom, put the thing, walk in, grab your cup, keep it moving. They caught on to that and they started making them put their cups through the machine, I guess. But yeah, tobacco, have them strap it all around their stomach, put their vest on, put the shirt on, all air sealed, come right in. Everything, yo, it's so easy. And there was so much corruption. So much corruption. And I just, you know, I'm going to give clips. I'm going to tell stories about all of that, man. And I'm just trying to give you a basis of what my life story is going to be about. You know, like I said, I talked about the street. Little clips about the streets, how I was in the street. Little clips about how I was in the military. And I'm going to give you little clips about me being in prison as a correctional officer and being in prison. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get thick. It's going to get deep. It's going to be people who don't like what I'm talking about. And I don't give a fuck because I'm talking about my life. I'm not talking about your life. I'm not going to mention nobody's names. I'm not going to mention, I'm definitely going to mention prisons. And I'm definitely going to say the state of Georgia because that's just where I was and what it was. But I'll never mention names. I'll never put nobody's business out there. I'm talking about my life, my business, how I did it, how I ran it. You know what I'm saying? So just stay tuned, man. And hopefully y'all get something out of it because at the end of the day, it starts off messed up. But as my time goes in prison and I start realizing I was always doing illegal shit as far as getting phones and getting tobacco. That never stopped until the day I came home. But as far as the gang life and the things that I was doing, that started changing because I started noticing the gang life wasn't the fucking life. It wasn't what I thought it was when they brought it to me. When they gave me the literature, when they told me what they stood for, when they stood on them principles. At one point in time, I was the only one standing on those. But then I started seeing all the shit inside the gangland. Like, yo, this shit is whack. These dudes is doing this and doing that, and this shit is whack. And that just made me start changing my thought. Like, damn, you know what? I'ma still be me. I still got the respect over anybody, any prison I touch. But I'm not gonna be on that shit no more. Like, I started talking kids out of doing dumb shit, getting the younger gang members to start doing positive shit, start doing productive shit. You know, like, yo, go get your GED, bruh. Go home. You got parole, go home on parole, get a job, do something good, do this. You know what I'm saying? I started speaking positivity, and that's what it ended up being. And it's crazy because now I come home and I watch all these other shows and all these other podcasts, and most of these gang members that was in my position who got to my age, God bless, I made it to this age, they doing the same shit. Because when you're young, you're dumb. You don't know. You're looking at life differently. You want the money. You want the clothes. You want the cars. You want the girls. You want the lifestyle. You want the respect. But when you get to my age and you sit back like, damn, what do I got from that? What did I get from that? Nothing. Because here I am out here working, and none of that shit I done meant anything. It's all forgotten. It's all a memory. Now it's just about me, my life, about me taking care of myself, living happy, living comfortable, and not going back to prison. It was a one and done for me. So, you know, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell my life story, man, and go through that. Anybody got any questions, any comments? I don't care if it's hate. I accept the hate too. I had some dude, he probably recognized me from somewhere and put King Killer on my shit. That's cool. You a hater like that, be a hater. At the end of the day, once a king, always a king. I always looked at myself a king before I even became a Lion King. I got tats on me with crowns that was on me before I even thought about being a Lion King. That never even crossed my mind, being a Lion King. I'm not affiliated no more. I've walked away. I'm done. I'm done. There's nobody, I don't owe nobody nothing, nobody owes me nothing, nobody's looking for me, I'm not looking for nobody, nobody's after me, I'm not after nobody. I'm just living my life now. But that's why I'm gonna give it to y'all the way I seen it and what I went through, and then the positivity that I gave to the young dudes that I ended up, you know, giving to, and where I am today. So, you know, stay tuned, man, and I hope y'all enjoy this ride that I'm gonna take y'all on.